name's Jennifer. I'm a solicitor in our Newcastle serious injury team, and I'm joined today by our wonderful former client, Alison. She is going to take us through her story, her journey with amputation, and look into the future. So Alison, if you wouldn't mind just sharing with the group a little bit about yourself and what happened in your accident.
Before the accident, I started life as an astrophysicist, studying the large-scale structure of the universe. But after a bit, I decided I liked the love of the great outdoors, and made me have a career change to landscaping. I did that for quite a number of years, and then I had a series of mental and physical problems, which culminated in a diagnosis of autism. And at the same time, became a full-time carer with for my mum, until just prior to the accident. Mum was admitted to a care home. I'd had my diagnosis of autism. I'd been discharged from all the medical people that were involved, and I was looking forward to sort of rebuilding a life again. When I had an accident, I was run over by a white van while I was walking home from the shops. Was dragged along the road and suffered a multitude of injuries. Both legs and arm were badly damaged. They managed to save one leg but not the other, and I had to be amputated. It was pretty clear cut that it had to go because in order to save my life, basically. And while I was in James Cook Hospital for a couple of months, and while I was there, I got in touch with Irwin Mitchell, who and Laura McElduff from the Newcastle office took my case on immediately. And from then on, I knew I needed help, and I just had to put my faith in somebody, which is a very scary situation because I've always been so independent. So I just had to go along with it and hope for the best.
Yeah, so Laura was great in setting up a multidisciplinary team for you, and I know we heard from Jan as to how important that support is. So your MDT consisted of a case manager, you had a physio, OT, prosthetist and a dietitian, and you were also fortunate to spend some time in STEPS.
Yes, that's right.
So do you want to just walk us through your journey, particularly with your prosthetic? Because I don't know, as you say, some people in the room might know your story, but initially the NHS prognosis had been that Alison would never be able to use a prosthetic and would never be able to walk again. So Alison, you took great pride in proving them all wrong, didn't you?
That's just my lifelong ambition, is to prove people wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So you had a great time.
But I didn't do it alone, yes. I think it was a team effort, wanted to prove everybody wrong. Yeah.
So do you want to tell us all a little bit about your time in STEPS and the work that was done for your prosthetic?
The case manager, Abby Udall, sort of managed to get to see people in STEPS who gave me intensive months sort of knocking me into shape again. And at the end of that, Laura from Irwin Mitchell thought, well, I should be given a chance to at least try a prosthetic. And then I was introduced, while I was at STEPS, with Colette from STEPS Prosthetics, who scratched her head a lot, and after 2 or 3 years of development, did manage to get something that kind of stays on most of the time. It's not very comfortable, but it gets me from A to B. It's opened so many more doors than just being sat in a wheelchair. So that what just drives you on, basically. While I was going through the process of developing the leg, I was getting intensive rehab from Neural Pathways up in Gateshead. Had splendid OTs and physiotherapists, and they were sort of supporting what Colette was doing all along.
Yeah, so like you say, it's been a real team effort, and you are one of the most determined people I've ever met. So you've really stuck through all of your rehab and the journey that's got you here today. What do you think would be the piece of advice that you would give somebody who is on that journey to help them through those highs and lows?
I think is not to look at the big picture, it's just to take little steps at a time. Remember, you're not in a race, you just do it at your own time. And always, once you've achieved one goal, what's the next one? Mm-hmm. And never think, oh, I've got there, and just sit complacent. Once you've achieved one thing, just look for the next thing to achieve. Yeah. And just think of what's important to you in life and try to achieve that.
Yeah, I think that's some great advice. So I know one of the things that you really focused on through your rehab, and one of the things that you'd said actually was that rehab makes getting better more fun, and a lot of the therapy exercise that you can do sort of add to that. But you also had a vision of your bucket list of what you would want to do, especially once your case was concluded, because I know we did keep you very busy, and we do still continue to keep Alison very busy at the moment. But you had a bucket list of things that you wanted to achieve when your litigation was concluded. So some of those, I know you said you're now into your landscape gardening, so one of those was to attend the Chelsea Flower Show.
Oh yes, yeah.
And you also wanted to do, was it afternoon tea at the Ritz?
Yes, that was a lifelong ambition to have tea at the Ritz ever since I was at school, and so I did that once the case was settled. I've been to Chelsea Flower Show about 3 times, once with support and the second time on my own. Mm-hmm. Second 2 times on my own. I've had holiday in Mauritius, which is great. I've tried all sorts of daft things like adaptive surfing, and which was an experience. I'm not sure I want to.
Yeah, that's for some people. It's not for everybody, but at least you tried.
It's a bit bracing in the North Sea, honestly.
Yeah, I think doing it in Mauritius might have been a better idea, maybe not the North Sea. But yeah, so you've had a wealth of experience, obviously post litigation, in terms of, like, say, trying new things and gaining loads of experience. But one of the things that we were really keen to do was to sit down and have a chat with you when the case was finished, to see how better we could support you in the litigation process and after. And I know you mentioned that peer support was really important.
Yeah,
so
that was I couldn't fault the care I'd had and the team that was surrounding me, but I've met very few other amputees. It's only happened you met the odd one while you were out and about, and I felt that was lacking. There was no sort of just talking to another amputee, because when I did meet one, you immediately gravitate to them and have a leg talk, or what happened to you, or mm-hmm. And even if you're just doing it in the supermarket, I've had people coming across the car park and saying, how did you get your car adapted, and things like that. And I felt there was a real need, especially in the North East, to have some sort of group going mm-hmm. that could answer a lot of these questions, and to meet up with other amputees, and just mostly sociable, because I think when you've met somebody who understands what you've gone through, it means such a lot. I mean, you could be lectured at by all the two-legged people in the world, but it's not the same as speaking to somebody who's only got one leg as well.
Yeah, exactly. So you were kind enough to volunteer with Day One, so you were part of their peer support group.
I've done that. I speak to nice gentlemen every now and again. I seem to be cheering them up. I don't know. Yeah. We have. You always find a common interest. I mean, it's not just the leg. We talk about cars and electronics and all sorts. You know, it's not just the leg.
Yeah.
But we've got that common bond that we're both amputees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one of the other things that we wanted to do outside of Alison's support on Day One is Alison decided that we needed to do a little bit more than that, and we started NE Amputee. So I think some of the photos, I'm probably stood clean in front of the image, it's just there. So that's us at one of our NE Amputee support groups, which we hold in the Metro. Well, I should probably be a bit more formal, actually. Not anyone here might know what the Metro is. It's the Metro Centre. It's a shopping centre in Gateshead. So we hold those every 2 months, and like you say, that's just a space for amputees and their families to come together and connect and like you say, reach out to one another because of the shared experience that they've had, but also get to know each other as a person beyond just their amputation. So we work quite hard to make that an inclusive environment for everybody and make sure that both the service users of the amputees and also their families are really supported as well. So we like to think we're getting there slowly but surely, aren't we? And we've taken on a lot of feedback.
It's very much a learning curve, yes.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
But it seems to be getting traction, and we managed to get a lot of publicity by me doing publicity stunt doing the 5K.
Yes, Alison's publicity stunt, as she calls it, of doing the Great North 5K. So that's her with some of her MDT team on the finish line. So that was another thing that you had set out that you wanted to achieve right at the beginning with some of your rehab goals that you were able to do.
I had thought about just doing it in a wheelchair, but actually I did better than that.
Yes, you did one better. Never doubted you for a second to prove people wrong, like you say. So you've had some fantastic achievements, and I know that there's still a lot more to come in the future. So what do you think is next for you that's on the bucket list?
Well, this year my house is getting done at long last, so that's going to be completely renovated. So that's super exciting, super stressful. I'd still like to go back to work somehow. I'd love to start designing gardens again, because that's my heart is in gardening and planting. So that's what I'd ultimately like to do. I'd like to do more travelling, just more experience, as much as I can possibly fit in with what time I've got left.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. So we were talking in great lengths on the train down about Alison's kitchen plans. So we were sharing our love over a walk-in pantry, which Alison is going to have, which sounds fantastic. And also, Alison, like you said, with your keen gardening, the next phase of the housing development is going to be making an accessible garden for yourself.
Right, yeah.
And we're all going to go around for a tomato salad for Alison's homegrown tomatoes.
Not all of you.
Yeah, I mean, I know your kitchen's going to be lovely, but I don't think it'll be holding everybody who's here. But so we've got some very exciting things to be looking forward to. And like I said, you're the most determined, inspirational person that I've ever met.
I don't feel it. I think it's just wanting to survive and wanting to make the best out of life. And you're just constantly striving to improve and do more.
Yeah.
Doesn't feel inspirational. Ruby would say the same. You just wanted to be there for your son, didn't you? Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's great. That's fab. So like I say, I think we can all agree that Alison has, while she's been through a lot, has really taken it in your stride and really, conquered everything that was put in front of you. And we're really excited to see where you go in the future.
Wow. So am I, actually.
Yeah.